Welcome to the Adventure Story Podcast. First, let me take 20 seconds to tell you about my new book. What if we've been looking for Atlantis in the wrong place? When an archaeologist dies protecting an impossible secret, her final message sends Eden Black racing into the Sahara to find an ancient crystal encoded with the knowledge of a lost civilization. It's the power that once turned a paradise into a wasteland. From high-speed chases through Marrakesh to an underground chamber older than recorded history, Eden must face a rogue scientist determined to use the crystal to reshape the world. Last time it awakened, the Sahara was born. This time, it could end everything. The Sahara event is the 7th in my Eden Black archaeological thriller series. Search for the Sahara event by me, Luke Richardson, wherever you get your adventures. Right, let's get on with the episode. Paris, France, March 18th, 1314. You push through the crowd and see the pyre for the first time. The mound has been constructed from carefully arranged kindling, straw and logs. It lies in the centre of the Isle de la Cité, in the middle of the River Seine, in the shadow of Notre Dame. In the centre of the pyre there's a thick wooden stake driven into the earth. Excitement moves through the crowd and the jostling increases. Voices raise and heads whip from side to side. You force your way forward, then freeze. You wish you hadn't moved, as there, now just feet away from you, you see the Grand Master, Jacques de Molay. After 7 years' imprisonment, Molay is a shadow of the man who had led the order with a fiery passion. His body is gaunt and pale, and his bones jut through his skin. Two burly executioners drag him towards the pyre. They wrap chains around his wrists, waist and ankles, securing him in place. One executioner stands beside the pyre while the other fetches a flaming torch. Orange flames flicker across Molay's haggard cheeks as the executioner approaches. Receiving the signal he requires, the executioner lunges, shoving the torch into the base of the fire. The kindling catches. The fire begins its devilish work, licking at the edges of the wood, climbing hungrily towards Molay's crumpled body. The silence of a séance settles across the crowd. Hundreds, maybe thousands of people watch, stunned and motionless. The fire grows in intensity, now licking at Molay's feet and legs. Instead of cowering away in the centre of the rising flames, Molay straightens up, as though battling the inferno. His features settle into a look of peaceful resignation, reflecting the calm resolve of someone willing to sacrifice everything for his cause. The flames lick past Molay's feet, growing in ferocity and hunger with every passing moment. As the flames reach his waist, a voice rises above the crowd. It takes you a moment to realise that the voice is Molay's. The Grand Master's voice, weakened by the years of torture. It's not the booming baritone it once was, but his words remain distinguishable. "May I make my peace before God," Molay says, his voice surprisingly steady. "For God is the only one who can judge me. And I tell you this, soon a calamity will occur to those who have condemned us to death. You have abused the word of faith for your greed, and for that you will pay. Pope Clement and King Philip, you will be summoned to the tribunal of heaven before the year is out." Hey, I'm Luke. I'm an author of archaeological adventure novels. I travel the world looking for stories to put into my books and to share with you right here on the Adventure Story Podcast. Now today we're talking about the Templars. More specifically though, the much fabled Templar Curse. First of all, a bit of background. At their height, the Templars were essentially the world's first multinational corporation. They invented modern banking, owned vast territories, and answered only to the Pope himself. They were warrior monks, the elite special forces of the Crusades, and their treasures Well, their treasures, they are the stuff of legend. But power breeds enemies. On Friday the 13th of October 1307, this is actually where Friday the 13th gets its bad reputation, King Philip IV of France made his move. In a single day, thousands of Templars were arrested on charges of heresy, witchcraft and devil worship. The charges were false. Of course, Philip simply wanted their wealth and was deeply in debt to the order. For 7 years, the Templars were tortured, tried, and then executed. But none, not one, gave up the location of their fabled treasure. Some experts claim that the treasure was smuggled out of France before the arrests, possibly to Scotland or Portugal, where the Templars had strong connections. Others speculate that the gold was smuggled across the Atlantic, reaching the Americas before they were officially discovered by Europeans in 1492. This theory, while highly controversial, is not entirely implausible, given the Templars' extensive seafaring experience and resources. As skilled sailors and navigators, the Templars had access to advanced shipbuilding techniques and possessed a deep knowledge of ocean currents and wind patterns. If the Templars did indeed reach the Americas before Columbus, they may have hidden their treasure in remote locations such as the alleged Templar sites in New England and the Caribbean. Some even suggest they left behind clues and symbols like Newport Tower on Rhode Island, which bears a striking resemblance to Templar architecture. While these theories remain speculative and lack concrete evidence, they certainly capture the imagination of thriller writers like me. Although the Templars making it to the Americas may require some imagination, their seeking refuge in Portugal while King Philip arrested their brothers in France is widely accepted. King Denis I of Portugal, who had been a strong supporter of the Templars and was loosely related to a prominent figure in the order, negotiated with the Pope to create a new order, the Order of Christ. The Order of Christ then absorbed the Templars and their assets in Portugal, basically the same order but with a new name. The Order of Christ went on to become a powerful force in Portugal, playing a significant role in the country's maritime explorations and colonial expansion. The order's influence extended beyond Portugal, with some theorising that Christopher Columbus, who had married into a Portuguese noble family, may have had connections to the Order of Christ and, by extension, the Templars. There we go again with ideas of Templars related to the discovery of the New World. To this day, there are several fascinating Templar sites throughout Portugal, including the Convento de Cristo in Tamar, Amarol Castle, and the Castle of Pombal. One slightly more fantastical site, which I featured in my book, The Templar Enigma, is Quinta de Reguleira. Located in Sintra near Lisbon, Quinta de Reguleira is an early 20th century estate that was built by Antonio Augusto Carvalho Monteiro, a wealthy Portuguese businessman with a deep interest in esotericism, Freemasonry and the Knights Templar. The estate features a series of underground tunnels, grottos and 2 initiation wells that were never used for water collection but rather symbolic and ritualistic purposes. These wells, known as the Unfinished Well and the Initiation Well, are adorned with spiral staircases, carved symbols and astrological references. The Initiation Well is believed to represent the journey of the soul through the 9 circles of hell, purgatory and paradise, as described in Dante's Divine Comedy. The estate also boasts beautiful gardens filled with esoteric sculptures and hidden symbols that allude to alchemy, masonry and Templar mythology. Whether any of these symbols amount to a secret code or map, as I said in the book, I don't know. But I love the idea that they might. So, what about this curse then? You know, the one issued by the final Grand Master of the Order as he burned at the stake. You will be summoned to the tribunal of heaven before the year is out. Here's the kicker. It was a prophecy that ultimately came true. In April 1314, just weeks after de Molay's execution, Pope Clement V, one of the most powerful men in Christendom at the time, travels back through southern France. He's headed from the papal residence in Avignon to Bordeaux, but he'll never make it. En route, death catches up with him, bringing with it the first act of the Templar Curse. But to understand why many saw this as more than just convenient timing, which it is, let's be honest, we need to roll back a few years and look at Clement's role in the Templars' destruction. Clement was a Frenchman and owed his position to King Philip. When Philip first suggested investigating the Templars, Clement actually tried to resist, but before he could do anything, Philip launched his surprise attack. What followed was a masterclass in medieval political pressure. Backed into a corner, Clement made a series of decisions that would haunt him until his death. In November 1307, under pressure from Philip, he issued a papal bull ordering all Christian monarchs to arrest the Templars and seize their properties. By 1312, at the Council of Vienne, he officially dissolved the order entirely. Of course, we don't know if Clement thought about de Molay's final words, or if he considered them to be some kind of divine retribution. But we do know that his death, coming so soon after that fateful promise, sent shockwaves through medieval Europe. We also know now, this far after, that that was just the beginning. To be fair, while we can suggest that the Pope's death was the curse at work, others do say, quite truly, quite fairly, that he wasn't a well man to begin with, so you might think his death was expected. All right, fair enough, I'll take that. But King Philip, on the other hand, now he was a healthy 46-year-old. He was a man at the height of his power. But on November 29th, 1314, that's just 8 months after de Molay's execution, Philip goes hunting. Now, it's a place he's been hunting loads, near his palace at Fontainebleau. It promised to be a routine day, the kind of hunting trip he's taken hundreds of times before. As the hunting party follow the trail of their prey, I imagine, because I'm a writer, the forest becoming unusually quiet. No birdsong, no rustling in the undergrowth, just the sound of the horse's breath and the occasional snap of a branch underfoot. As the hunting party pushed deeper into the woods, I imagine mist gathering between the trees, turning familiar shapes into shadowy spectres. And that's when it happened. Philip's horse, a mount he'd ridden countless times before, reared up without warning. Maybe the horse had seen something in the shadows, or was spooked by something unexpected. Either way, the king was thrown from the saddle. Although the impact didn't kill him immediately, Philip sustained serious injuries. His men carried him back to the hunting lodge, where the royal physicians tried desperately to save him. For several hours, Philip suffered until, just 8 months after condemning Jacques de Molay to the flames, Philip IV of France breathed his last. The king who had seemed invincible, who had brought both the Pope and the Templars to heel, was dead at 46 years old. But the curse wasn't yet done. Within 14 years of Philip's death, France witnessed something unprecedented. All 3 of his sons, Louis X, Philip V and Charles IV, died in quick succession, each failing to produce a male heir. In the span of just 14 years, a dynasty that had ruled France for over 3 centuries simply vanished. The crown passed to Philip of Valois, a cousin, but the transition wasn't smooth. The sudden change threw France into chaos, leading directly to the 100 Years' War, when England's Edward III claimed he had a better right to the French throne. Was this the work of de Molay's curse? reaching beyond the grave to destroy not just his enemies, but their entire bloodline? Or was it simply the cruel hand of fate, a series of coincidences that just happened to align with a condemned man's final words? Of course, we'll never know for sure. But here's something I do know. It all started on that cold March day in 1314 on a small island in the middle of the Seine. If you ever make it to Paris, take a walk to the Isle de la Cité. Stand where Jacques de Molay spoke those final words. Watch the river flow past, just as it did all those years ago in the shadow of Notre Dame. Ask yourself, is it really possible that the dying words of a wronged man can reach across the centuries to exact their revenge? This is the Adventure Story Podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out today. It's great to spend time with you. If you've enjoyed the show today, please subscribe, like and share. It'll take you just seconds, but really helps me spread the word about this show. Now, a lot of the stories and ideas for this episode came from my book, The Templar Enigma, which is available in stores now. Just search your favourite bookstore for The Templar Enigma by Luke Richardson, and you'll see it there. If you have a story you'd like me to explore, let me know in the comments or via email, hello@lukerichardsonauthor.com. And if you need some more adventure in your life, and let's be honest, who doesn't? You might like to join the Adventure Society. This weekly newsletter is your ticket to travel with me, to share real-world adventures and find out when a new story or season of this podcast drops. lukerichardsonauthor.com/Adventure Society is where you need to go for that. A special thanks to my patrons who make creating in different ways like this possible. All of my books and all of my podcasts are dedicated to you. You keep me motivated when times get tough and focused when something else threatens to steal my attention, as it quite often does. Many of you have been supporting me since the very early days, and for that, I'm incredibly grateful. If you'd like to support me and my various creations, consider joining our vibrant crew on Patreon. You'll get free and early access to my books, commercial-free direct downloads of the podcast, and more stuff as I invent it. lukerichardsonauthor.com/Patreon, Patreon is where you need to head to find out everything about that. And of course, if you're a fan of adventure stories like the one I've told today, please check out my books, lukerichardsonauthor.com, or search for me on your favourite bookstore. Thanks so much, bon voyage, enjoy the adventure, and I'll see you again very soon.